one of the best centers in the 2025 class, Malachi Moreno has a chance to do something crazy.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, and it's the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply. Well, thank you so much for being here again, making this your first listen each and every day. A reminder that we are free and available wherever you get your podcast 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, with reaction episodes on the weekends once we get into football and basketball season. So thank you so much for being here. Your support means the world. Malachi Moreno is one of the top players in the 2025 class. He's one of the best centers in the 2025 class, and he has a chance to do something crazy. We're going to talk about that today, and I'll tell you what that is and why, at the end of the day, it may not be all that crazy if it does end up happening. Plus, Indiana's football schedule, you start breaking it down a little bit now that the preseason top 25 has come out, and it's not all that bad. I think Coach Cignetti and this staff are going to be happy with what they have on the schedule. And then speaking of that football team, so many units continue to get love and praise that are improving just about everywhere. We'll have that for you at the end of the show. Malachi Moreno, top 25 player, one of the top 3 centers in America, number 1 player from the state of Kentucky, a guy that we've had a lot of conversations about here on Locked On Hoosiers. He has an official visit set to Bloomington to see Mike Woodson and Indiana basketball on September 20th. Well, if that date sounds familiar, if you remember, he's not going to be alone on that official visit. His 2 AAU teammates on the Indiana AAU team are going to be with him. Remember, on September 20th, Braylon Mullins, Trent Sisley, and Malachi Moreno are all going to be here at the same time. And we've talked a lot about Braylon Mullins and how I feel really good about Braylon ending up here. I really, really do. Trent Sisley is probably right there behind him, maybe just a slight less confident. And then I feel that way about Malachi Moreno as well. I would rank it Mullins, Sisley, and Moreno. But where I'm going with this is Moreno has a chance to do something crazy, which is complete the trifecta. Be the guy who comes in and says, you know what, Mullins, you know what, Sisley, I like it. Let's do it. And not only would that be the crazy part, he would be the best player from the state of Kentucky to come up north and play in the state of Indiana, because he just took a visit to Kentucky, and we're going to give you his quotes on that in just a second. But imagine what the shockwaves that would send throughout the Kentucky fan base. Look, we talked with my buddy Lance Dahl of Locked On Kentucky a while back on this show. We did a crossover, and they feel good about Moreno. And I need to ask him how they would feel if they lost the best player from their state to the state of Indiana and to the Hoosiers, because I have a feeling it wouldn't go over all so well. And look, we can dive into why it makes sense for Moreno to come here because of the center's success, because of the success of centers here at Indiana, especially recent success. Look at Khalil Ware. He just got drafted. Umar Ballo, he's going to be in the same situation and will have the same opportunities to be great here at Indiana, the Arizona transfer, and possibly get to the next level. And you just tell Malachi Moreno, look, dude, you're 6'11", 230 pounds. We're going to put some muscle on you when you get here. We're going to use your height to our advantage and to your advantage, and we're going to run things through you. We're going to run our offense through you. And the future guard play, I think, is very attractive here at Indiana. Playing with your teammates, if Mullins and Sisley do end up coming here, I think it's attractive as well. Indiana's not alone. They're not alone by any means on Malachi Moreno. Arkansas, North Carolina, Ohio State, and Kentucky, as we mentioned, are all in on Moreno. And he has visits to a couple of more. His top 8 includes those teams. Notre Dame is in there. Iowa, Louisville are in there. I don't know. I think it's up to the big dogs. I really, really do. And as I mentioned, he just took a visit to Kentucky. He talked about how he still has his visits set up for Ohio State, North Carolina, Indiana, Kansas, and then Kentucky. But when he went on an unofficial visit, so apologies there, an unofficial visit to Kentucky, says it was a good visit, got to speak with Coach Pope. They talk to me every day and call me every day to see how I'm doing. I'm excited about my official visit. My unofficial, they explain how much I fit their program and how badly they want me on the team. Here's what he said about Indiana. They were one of my first big schools to offer and have been in constant contact ever since. They've come to visit me at the house a couple of times, so that definitely put their foot in the door. So, as has been the case for a lot of these big recruits for Indiana, they were on him early and they continue to be on him often. That's the game plan. That's the strategy, ladies and gentlemen. That's what Mike Woodson and this staff want to do. They find a player, they reach out early, they offer him early, and they don't let up. Is this strategy going to work? I don't know. We're going to find out. We're in on all the biggest players, all the biggest names. Will it work out? I hope so. I know you hope so, and I know Mike Woodson hopes so. But for a guy like Moreno, you're battling with Kentucky, with Kansas, right? He says, I had a Zoom call with Coach Self, and he said that if I come there, all he would need is 36 months max to get me where I want to be. That's strong. That's a strong recruiting pitch, man. He talks about Ohio State and the new coach there. So this is no easy fight. This will be a dog fight and go down to the end for Malachi Moreno. But I believe that he can do something crazy and come here with Braylon, come here with Trent. They all play together, and they could come in. And when they get here, could become one of the greatest recruiting trios in the history of Indiana basketball. I want you to think about that for a second. They would by far be one of the most highly rated recruiting classes coming in, recruiting trios, if you will. And there's been some good ones, don't get me wrong. But this isn't just three random guys. These are teammates. And think about the synergy and the progression that they can make already because they've already played together and they know each other so well. And then the ultimate just cherry on top, as I said, the number one player from the state of Kentucky could come to the Hoosier State, could come and play in Bloomington and wear the colors that they hate more than anything, right? It's the opposite of that blue and white they wear down there. He could do something crazy. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, flipping over to football because this schedule, I've told you how I like the roster. I told you how I like the energy and the vibes. And the roster is great, but the schedule sets up to be very, very favorable for Indiana football and head coach Coach Cignetti with the AP preseason top 25. We'll see what's going on. We'll compare, talk about the schedule, and maybe where we could pick up some wins this season. We'll have that for you next on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. Game Time, by far, is my favorite ticketing app. It's my only ticketing app now. I got rid of all the other ones because Game Time has taken care of me every single time that I've used it. My parents use it. My grandparents use it. All my friends and brothers and sisters use it because it's that easy. Sports, music, comedy, theater, you name it, they have got it. They've got priority last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off when buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, etc. You can see the view from your seat. Get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. And their lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back to Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again so much for being here and making this your first listen each and every day. Reminder, we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Audio, video, doesn't matter. It is free to you Monday through Friday. So if you're looking for a free way to help us out and support the show on YouTube, like the video, comment down below if you believe Malachi Moreno will end up an Indiana Hoosier. Do you think he gets here? Do you think Mike Woodson and the boys can pull it off? Let me know in the YouTube comments. And then the best way to support us, hit our show logo and subscribe to the show. All right, we continue to grow. That shows that you want more of what we're doing here and that you want to become an everydayer. So help us out. Do that for me, and I really appreciate it. Audio listeners, do the same thing. Follow us there. Turn on notifications. If you can subscribe on your platform, go for it. And I really do appreciate you doing that and making this your first listen each and every day. Well, with the AP Top 25 coming out for the preseason Top 25 for college football, nobody was expecting Indiana to be in that Top 25. And look, it could take a little bit for us to get in there. But where I'm going with this is the fact that we may have one of the easier schedules in the Big Ten. When's the last time we could say that? And this is a schedule that still includes Ohio State and Michigan on it, right? But all the other games aren't that bad. And look, it's just math where the bigger the conference gets, they can't all be good. All the teams can't be great. Now, you do add an Oregon team to the conference who's really, really good. They're not on our schedule this year, right? You don't have to worry about that. And you look at what the Big Ten did in the preseason Top 25. You have 6 teams in there. Ohio State at 2, Oregon at 3, Penn State at 8, Michigan number 9, USC 23, and Iowa 25. And 3 more of them received votes: Nebraska, Wisconsin, and Washington. Of those 9, okay, of the 6 teams that are ranked and 3 teams that receive votes, of all of those 9, only 4 are on Indiana's schedule. 2 of them are the only ones that are ranked: Ohio State and Michigan, inside the top 10. Ohio State's going to be really good. Michigan, have no idea. Couldn't tell you. Have no idea. What I can tell you is John Harbaugh's never coming back. He'll never touch foot in college football again. Good job, NCAA. You did your job. Well done. Ohio State and Michigan are the only 2 ranked teams on the schedule this year. Does that mean the schedule is easy? No. That's why I said it's easy-ish, right? But it's manageable. It is a doable schedule. And if you're Coach Cignetti and this staff, you feel like it's a great starting point. You feel that it's a good, I don't know, maybe an ease into the Big Ten schedule to your first year in the conference where, sure, you do have to play the number 2 team in the country in Ohio State at Ohio State. That sucks. That's not going to be any fun, okay? You do play Michigan, but you get them here in Bloomington. Your other teams that you play are Nebraska and Washington, 2 teams that are not ranked right now, but could be. They received votes. Washington, what a wild card that is, since everybody dipped out of town, out of Seattle, and took off to Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Nebraska, I'm not buying into them until I see it because it's freaking Nebraska. And other than that, that's it. That's it. Will Indiana have more ranked teams on their schedule? Maybe. I mean, maybe if somebody, pops up and decides to be good this year. But overall, I mean, look, UCLA, maybe. I doubt it. Maryland could. I think Maryland could be a team that ends up getting ranked this year. Michigan State, if they finally figure it out. But other than that, man, like, your first 2 non-con games, no. Charlotte, obviously, no. Northwestern, no. Nebraska, probably not. Washington, maybe. Michigan State, maybe. Michigan, Ohio State, yeah. And Purdue, probably not. Like, it's not that bad of a schedule. And if you're Coach Cignetti and this staff, you have to see it that way, but you can't portray it to your team that way. Does that make sense? Does that make sense what I'm saying here? You can feel like it's a favorable schedule, but you cannot lead on to your team, because the last thing you want them to do is go into this season thinking, oh yeah, if we just show up and play, we'll get 8 wins. Yeah, schedule's easy. We're good. We have a couple losses on there, but other than that, nah, we're going to roll. You can't let them think that way. And I don't think Cignetti will. I really don't. He doesn't. Has he come off that way so far? Has he given those vibes to any of us so far that he's going to have that type of mindset and let that bleed into his program? No, there's no possible way. But what I do see is 3 wins in non-con. I see a win over Northwestern on the road, which would be cool. I do see a chance to beat either Nebraska or Washington. So that would give me what? That's 3, 4, 5. And then all you have to do to get to a bowl game is beat Purdue, Ohio State, Michigan, or Maryland. I don't think that's crazy. Take Ohio State, Michigan out of it. Beat Purdue or beat Maryland. I don't think that's bad. Do you? Is that not manageable? Is that not doable to you? I think so. And with what we have coming up for you in the next segment in terms of all of the positions improving and getting better. Now, there is a major injury we have to talk about, unfortunately, on the offensive side. But everything I'm hearing is everybody's getting better. All the position groups continue to improve for this Indiana football team. My point is this. This is one of the better schedules I've seen in a while. And it includes a road trip to Columbus, right? We can't expect that to be a win. It's going to be hard to expect a win against Michigan and a couple of other these teams. But this is a perfect starting point for Cignetti to turn the program around, get some wins, beat the teams you're supposed to, and prove that we can do that, because last year that wasn't the case, right? It took everything we had to beat the Charlottes of the world. Take care of business and beat a team you're not supposed to, and win a couple of 50-50 games. That's what we have to do this year on the football field. You do those things, you'll get to a bowl game, you'll get some more recruits, you'll get more buy-in, and you'll prove that we're heading in the right direction after year one. And another way to prove that is making players better, making positions better. And that's what I continue to hear about this football team and about this program. And we're going to talk about that coming up next in the final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Final segment here on the show. Again, thank you so much for being here. Shout out to all of my everydayers. You are the reason this show is so successful. So thank you so much for that. This is your first listen every day. I know that. You wouldn't do that to me, right? I know this is your first listen. But if you're looking for your second listen of the day, you can do a couple of different podcasts on our Locked On Podcast Network. The first one, since we're talking college football, is Locked On College Football with my guy Spencer McLaughlin. Go check him out. Does a wonderful job, has all the biggest storylines, all the biggest news, and the hottest of takes, okay? Go check him out. Just type it in, Locked On College Football. Then your third listen every day needs to be Locked On College Basketball. Isaac and Andy do a wonderful job. They do a fantastic job getting you prepared for the basketball season. I know we're a few months away, but go check out Isaac and Andy at Locked On College Basketball and my boy Spencer at Locked On College Football. But always make Locked On Hoosiers your first listen every day. Well, I continue to hear around Indiana football. Continue to hear. There's articles, there's news pieces, there's text messages to me. There's all sorts of things. And it seems to almost be an everyday occurrence that Indiana's football team is getting better and better by the day. I continue to see and hear that the offensive line gets better, or the DBs have gotten better, or the linebackers have taken a drastic improvement, or the corners have just made serious strides, or the receivers are just making plays left and right, and the quarterback room looks like it may be a little deeper than we thought. And you know what? That's awesome. That's great. That's fantastic news. And that's what I want to hear. That's what you should want to hear, because this is what I expected from Coach Cignetti. This is what I expected from his experienced staff that he trusts with his life, I would think, because he brought so many of them with him from James Madison. And they've talked a big game. They absolutely have. They have talked a big game, and I'm here for it. I'm here to talk game if you can back it up. Now, we don't know anything about the on-field performance in an actual game. I know that. But from everything I'm hearing, seeing, and being told, things are going well. Things are going in the right direction. Sure, it's been early in fall practice, but we're still making the strides and just improving as a football team. And look, a lot of you would say this, well, Jacob, it's hard to not get better from last year. Or I guess it's easy to get better because they just weren't all that good. I agree. I see where you're coming from. But he's brought a lot of different guys in, guys from Indiana, his James Madison guys, other portal guys as well. And it seems to me, from what I'm hearing, that everything is coming together. Will it work out in game one? We'll find out. Will it work out against UCLA early in the season? I don't know. We'll find out. We're going to see, right? But I really, really enjoy and appreciate, and it kind of gets me pumped up to keep hearing, hey, this position group has gotten better, and this position group took a turn today in practice. And that's what you want to hear. And call me crazy, but it just wasn't like that in the past. Like, yeah, they had good things to say because that's what coaches do, but this isn't blowing smoke. This isn't this isn't faking it till you make it. Okay. Coach Cignetti and this staff will let you know what happens. And guess what? I'm going to tell you how I feel. I'm going to tell you what I think. If I'm not impressed with a position group or a particular player, I don't care. I'll tell you. I don't work for that. I'll tell you. You know what I mean? And I feel like Cignetti is the same way. He may not just straight up come out and say it or call somebody out, but if you ask him about it, I have a feeling he'll give you what you're looking for. And unfortunately, we do need to talk about a significant injury, which is really unfortunate because I was wanting to talk about this topic, and then this injury news came through last night because Indiana lost one of their projected starting offensive linemen last night in Nick Kidwell, the James Madison transfer who is out for the year on that offensive line. Apparently, it's a season-ending knee injury. He was an all-conference selection over at James Madison, and he was going to be a starter on that offensive line. And for a seventh-year senior, that really sucks. Yes, he's played a lot of college football, but you never want to see somebody get hurt. And this is devastating to Indiana because they were somebody that Cignetti and the entire staff were going to rely on, right? They were going to rely on a very, very, very experienced offensive lineman to kind of be the anchor and be the anchor in a good way, right? Be the guy that you can rely on, the guy you trust to put on that offensive line. And so, of course, now the question becomes, okay, who steps up? Who's it going to be, right? Who is going to be that dude? And my guess is it's going to be a rotation until we figure that out. I highly doubt that with 2 weeks before the season starts, they're going to figure out who that's going to be, and that's going to be it for the rest of the year. Probably not. And there was a good chance, even with Kidwell, there was a good chance you were going to see rotations anyway. You were going to see guys moving in and out regardless to figure out what works best. But now you've just limited yourself a little bit on how many rotations you can make, how many more injuries that you can sustain, and all of that. And that sucks, man. That I hate seeing guys get injured. I hate seeing really important players get injured. And there's no doubt that this adds some stress to Coach Cignetti, Bob Bostad, the offensive line coach, and everybody on that offensive side because, excuse me, now you're scrambling. I mean, you're scrambling to. You got some sophomores in there. You got a couple juniors. I mean, you also have some true freshmen if you need to go that route. Now, they're talented, but they're young. And so that's what Indiana's got to figure out. Hate to see that on the offensive line. Other than that, though, I continue to hear that improvements are being made across the board. And I'm telling you, we should be excited about this season. Between the improvements we're making and the schedule that this team has, things can happen here. I've been saying it, and I will continue to say it. Things even crazier than Malachi Moreno leaving the state of Kentucky to come to Indiana. Football season is right around the corner, and basketball ain't too far behind it. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much for being here again. Shout out to all of my everydayers. I see you. I hear you. I appreciate you. Thank you so, so much. like this video on YouTube. Comment down below. Malachi Moreno, is he coming to the Hoosiers? Also, what's Indiana's football record this year? Let's go ahead and give me that. Give me your projected win-loss record for Indiana football. Give me that down below as well. And be sure you subscribe to our channel. It's the free way to help support the show. On the audio version, follow us, turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode over there, okay? We'll be back tomorrow, so stay safe, Hoosier fans, and I'll talk to you later.